Welcome to a new episode of Mind Your Mind. I'm so thrilled to be today with Sherry Schmidt. She is an American interior designer. Here we are ready to talk about something quite different because we normally don't pay much attention to our surroundings and what is the colors that we have in our walls. And we will be talking about so many details. Sherry will be bringing her expertise, and I just want to give you a massive welcome. Thank you for being here
Hi,
with us today.
thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and share some experience and expertise.
Interior design. What an interesting topic because we have been thinking about safety, no? And how do we create this sense of comfort, safety, transitioning into places where we can create a sanctuary within our homes, no? After a very probably difficult day for the frontline workers and community workers around the world supporting people that are suffering for some reason, how they can go back to a place in their homes where they feel comfortable, safe, in peace as well, no? That give them the restful time and peaceful time that they will need. So how would you say that they can actually create that home to make in their homes their safety net?
Well, um, as an interior designer, we have different principles and elements of design that we incorporate in each one of our plans.
Uh-huh.
And I'll use the word anthropometrics. So that's like kind of the beginning of creating a space that is comfortable. And what anthropometrics is it's like the human relationship of the human body.
Uh-huh.
And so we take into consideration, and a skilled designer will have studied the principles of that, which, comfortable meeting space and conversation is between 8 and 12 feet. There should always be 3 foot on sides of the table. And, just little tips and tricks with spatial
Uh-huh.
analysis. That's where I always start with a 2D floor plan. And then we start to build, through texture, light, color, things like that, from there to just enhance the space.
So the first thing that people can think, we will be giving lots of tips during this episode. We'll be full of tips for sure.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking about what you're saying, so you're making me think about to recognize and start to understand how we move in our houses, in our spaces. What is maybe the rooms that we use the most? Is that part of it?
That is part of it.
Uh-huh.
And specifically, I worked with a frontline worker just last year on developing, she's a long-term client. She is an anesthesiologist, and I worked with her even during COVID and saw her go through just a very difficult trial period, with
Mm.
like how can she make her home a safer place?
Uh-huh.
How can she not bring home this ugly disease, this thing that was happening, right? Um, so when we started to design her kitchen, we took into consideration things that were easy to clean, sanitary things. We
Uh-huh.
took into consideration like the organization and putting clutter away, kind of the everybody's heard of Marie Kondo, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, but we wanted to create a space that was comfortable, that was sanitary, that was easy, and think like a spa. So we
Mm-hmm.
didn't use
Mm-hmm.
loud colors.
Mm-hmm.
We used more like a kind of a periwinkle blue and like warmer tones. We stayed away from the cooler grays. We wanted it cozy for her to come home to because she was seeing things that people shouldn't have to deal with, I think, in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and she would come home and have to strip down in her garage. She was lucky enough to have a mudroom right right there that she could just change her clothes and leave that all outside and then come into her home and have this comfortable space to live in.
You mentioned several things that I'm making mental notes in what
Yeah.
you're saying. One, for those that don't know Marie Kondo, and what is this idea about decluttering?
So Marie Kondo is she's an organizer, a home organizer, and she would say if there's something in your room that looks out of place, it's because it is.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
hard for people, isn't it? It's hard for us
Yeah, of
to
course.
go into our own homes and have this non-biased thought process and opinion of what should stay, what should go,
Mm-hmm.
and how do I declutter? So that's Marie Kondo's organizational tips. But
Mm.
as an interior designer, we tend to, it could go with feng shui or whichever, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we tend to educate our customers on that as well and take into consideration. So for designing a kitchen, it could be as simple as how often do you use your mixer? Where do you put what utensils, and all of we go into detail on where everything is. It's not going to be just a cabinet. It's going to be a cabinet with the right dividers and organizers so that when you go in to make a meal or to do your food prep for the week or whatever it is, it's easy, it's
Mm.
simple,
Mm.
and
Mm.
beautiful.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's
Yeah.
a very important point because it's about simplifying life as well, no? Making things easier for oneself when you are arriving home and you are drained and tired and you just want to put some meal together, for example, you need to have good access to see what do you have. And sometimes it
Yes.
is this there actually in my own kitchen there are places that I cannot even reach. I don't know what it is in that particular cupboard because I don't
Yeah.
reach there. My partner
Exactly.
does. But
Mhm.
those kind of things make a difference on the kind of elements that I will be using or products that I will be using for my meals, you know? And so
Yes.
for me, the easy reach is the fridge. And so I
Mhm.
do tend to pick up a lot of vegetables and things like that, and I tend to cook that, and that is interesting how it has a massive impact in our day to day, and we don't stop to think about those things, right?
Right. So I think when you work with a professional, they're going to think about those things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going
Uh-huh.
to, like, our intake meeting, Roxana, is probably an hour or so long with every single client. And, we want to know it's not just how do you live? How many children do you have? How many pets do you have? How do you cook? How do you entertain? Do you like to have cocktails at the end of the night? Do you like to
Uh-huh.
read a book? Do you like to travel? Like all of these things, I want to get to know you as a family, as a moving unit, so
Uh-huh.
that we can best organize your home
Uh-huh.
and take
Uh-huh.
all of those facets into consideration. You know, um, do you have allergies?
Yes.
Like simple things. Do you
Simple
have allergies
things.
to down? I mean, do we to any kind of like, I mean, textiles are from all over the world now, and they're not always great. Sometimes they're wonderful. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how do you need it to wear and tear? Do you need family friendly? So when we do our intake meeting, it's not only getting to know like the personalities, it's the lifestyle and creating
Yes.
that lifestyle for for everyone, but us especially taking that extra step. I think with frontline workers is just a little bit we can modify our approach
Mm-hmm.
to be a little bit more sensitive to what they're going through.
Yeah, definitely. And if we think about colors, you mentioned colors as well.
Hmm.
What is the impact that colors may potentially have on our mood? Is there such such connection
Oh,
there?
huge, huge, huge,
Uh-huh.
huge. I mean, there's people that study color as, their full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And so the psychology of color is just astounding. I couldn't even try to remember it all. But I'll give you a quick example is a
Okay,
little pop of
great.
yellow
Uh-huh.
will brighten up any room, just a little tiny bit of yellow. And that will give you some life. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be a book on a shelf. It could be a small little flower arrangement or something. Um, Blues, of course, are going to be more subtle. They're easier, they're softer. Think like a spa. Think a spa room. And then there's like, I think on the commercial side, if you go into a surgery room, they're
Mm-hmm.
almost always going to be a pale green, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
And
hospitals as
that's,
well, no?
yes, and that's because the surgeons and the doctors, when they're looking at a certain color, that's going to neutralize their eyes. They're not going to get like different reflective values.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a neutralizing color. And so that's why there's that psychology behind that. They're not going to go in and put a bright red or a magenta or something on the walls in in a surgery room.
And so you do recommend the yellow as a pop-up kind of color to brighten up. And you mentioned the idea of spa colors. So what kind of colors are you thinking of?
Yeah, well, I wish I could show you this kitchen I just did. It's more we used, like I said, kind of a periwinkle blue, a lot of brighter whites,
Uh-huh.
warm tones. We stayed away from the grays in the
Uh-huh.
background. And just also the textiles, the light, all of it together. It's called the
Yes.
Principles and Elements of Design.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use all of those pieces together to create a cohesive design. Um, so I wouldn't do like a royal blue. I might
Uh-huh.
tend more towards a navy blue, which is tends to have a softer effect in some rooms, than like a bright royal.
And you
Um,
make me think immediately about
I'd
the
like,
sea.
yes, or like a softer pink rather than a magenta, maybe a
Uh-huh.
little bit more onto a warmer coral, kind of salmon, that sort of just think of what you want to experience if you were going into a spa day.
Yeah, because it
And
also is something about preference, no? That the colors that we like, the would you just make me think about the sea, so I can think about the color of the sand, the color of the sea, the colors that can be, in that sort of nautic ideas or whatever it is
yes,
that tick with you, no? That make you feel
absolutely. I mean, there's
happier or
definitely going
bring
to
good
be,
memories.
everybody has their own, thoughts. I think I can just enhance those
Mm-hmm.
and I might say, hey, if you want a relaxing living room, maybe we don't do a bright red. Maybe to some people, a bright red is relaxing, but I haven't met I think it like a different shade, maybe more towards like a mulberry red,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
or
Mm-hmm.
something like that would be a little bit more calming for that kind of space.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned
So
the principles and elements of design and that they can be very useful. Which ones do you think someone can start with or with to start to make their home like this sanctuary that we're thinking of on the spa sensations? What are the principles and elements of design that can be useful?
I think of proportion is
Okay.
where I would personally start.
Mm-hmm.
And so our process is when we start working with any client, commercial, residential, we're going to, like I said, we're going to do this intake meeting and find out about your personality, about your lifestyle, what your likes and dislikes are. And then we take a measurement of the space or get your CAD plans, and we start to look at the proportion and scale of that room. And I always start with a 2D, like a CAD drawing, and then
Mm-hmm.
we can build it into 3D so that we can choose pieces that are going to fit correctly in the space and give you that movement and the back to the anthropometrics to move around easily to entertain with your lifestyle or fit your family's needs.
Mm-hmm. So it's about proportions and ensuring that that massive table that you saw may not fit in your
Exactly.
room, but you may go for something smaller. The same with the sizes of, I'm thinking about sofas, chairs, or rugs, and so on.
Right.
Oh, what else? What else comes to mind with the principles and elements?
So proportion, scale, um, harmony. You
Okay.
can create harmony, and that's just, again, the spatial analysis. That is, I think of harmony um, as back into like the principles of feng shui, which feng
Mm-hmm.
shui talks a lot about using all of the different textures and elements, like earth elements. So, metal, natural materials, the hand of a material, the texture, wood, stone, mixing all of those things. I mean, I think it's pretty clear nowadays if you watch HGTV and you have an eye for it, that no longer are we in this era of just going into a showroom and purchasing all the same look and everything has to match.
Uh-huh.
You can create harmony in a space by having it unmatched, by giving it character. And
Mm-hmm. Mm.
with the different textiles, with different woods, with different metals, it's okay to have a gold frame and a chrome chandelier. That's, you know, as long as it is cohesive still, it's okay. You don't have to have everything matching. And to me, that's going to create a rhythm, which is another, because you have like your mind, you know, goes is something else to look at. It's not just focused on one
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
style or color or item in the room.
So that will give as well more movement in mentally as well.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
So
saying? Uh-huh.
and I think as I'm speaking right now, I think to my experience in acrylic painting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my I call her my sensei. She's just one of my fabulous mentors and teachers in art. And her paintings, you can look at them and they look like they're dancing. And
Uh-huh.
she said, well, that's because if you look closely, I put complementary colors right next to each other. So if she has a purple, you can probably find a hint of an orange
Uh-huh.
right next to it. And it's so subtle, but she's a professional. She's learned how to do that. And her paintings just, I mean, they look like they could just jump off the page and move. I mean, they're really wonderful. So we can take that, idea with textures, with elements, with things in a space. Excuse my boring
Absolutely.
background here, but you know,
That's, yeah, no, the very thing that I was about to say is that it makes me think about how one can touch in their own creative side too, no? When thinking about creating your sanctuary, you will be adding different aspects, different materials, different things as well that may bring you good memories that make you feel good, that will make you even sort of explore your creative side and produce something that you want to have there, or just go and meet the local artists and get a painting, or get
Oh my
a
gosh.
sculpture or something that you feel as well that will bring you joy. I think is, for me, what I'm imagining from all what you're saying, creating this picture of how the own sanctuary could be, is about connecting with those positive memories, positive
Yes.
feelings. What makes me
And
tick in a
developing it.
way, no?
Yes. Oh, I have a recent experience. So I love to travel. I
Uh-huh.
love to travel. I've been to all 50 of the United States, over a handful of countries so far. And I especially love Hawaii. There's just a place in my heart.
Uh-huh.
And I had a client go to Hawaii and I said, you have to go to this gallery in Honolulu and just check it out. And she ended up purchasing a painting from this woman, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's it's got like all these botanical leaves. It's got, it like she actually texted me from vacation and asked permission. Can I get this? I said, yes, we'll design the whole room around it. I'm so excited.
That's
And
fantastic.
and so a few months later it was shipped over, and in the meantime we had picked out an area rug and pillows, and there's like this really cool lamp that had like a leaf pattern on it to kind of pick
Uh-huh.
up from the leaves, create that rhythm and harmony with the artwork. And I mean, who's not gonna love that? That is her. That's not,
Yeah.
these were
Yeah.
bright pinks, bright greens, bright, just strong, like phthalo blue, and ocean blue, whatever colors in these. And in this artwork, and not everybody's going to love that room, but that's her happy place. And she needs a
Exactly.
happy place. I don't know that I would consider her a frontline worker, but she's like a lot of people in COVID. She ended up working at home. She works from
Hmm.
home 90% of the time.
Uh-huh.
And home needs to be that happy place. It needs
Yes.
to be the place that you can feel comfortable. You can lock out the rest of the world, right? If you
Absolutely.
want
And the
to.
other thing that I'm thinking of is that you don't have to do massive investments to actually make it happen. And sometimes, as you were mentioning, the cluttering, changing the colors, or adding some specific textures, or adding an object that make you feel and remind you of something amazing in your life,
Yes.
like a trip, for example. All of those elements can be done little by little, but adding something that will be yours, no, and
Yes.
that gives character to your space in a way that you feel happier as well when you get there, no.
Yes.
Such an important thing. I'm thinking about spaces and time as well, and how do you work around making spaces, because there is a lot of tendencies, this color, that color. We can for sure, you know much better than me, or all the tendencies in design that we are bombarded over and over. So I'm wondering about that, and how a person can, that has a busy job, and can actually think about those spaces transitioning, through different moments in life, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. I've been in this field for 24 years,
Mm-hmm.
and since I was just right out of college. And this is back when we were just drawing on paper. We had to, everything was handwritten and hand drafted, and
Uh-huh.
it was a different world of design.
Yes.
I bring that up because I still have some clients from when I was at that age.
Hmm.
And so I've got to see their homes transition over time. And I've watched how some of them years later will still have the same accessories the way I placed them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that because if you take the time to do it right, if you take the time to
Mm.
do it in a way that includes the principles and elements of design, that includes the different textures, the different patterns, the scale of the patterns, and even the scale of accessories. There's tricks to doing that that a good designer is going to know. You know, the like the rule of threes. So you want to put one, two,
What's
three
that?
vases or whatever. Just in general, like an odd number of objects is more desirable for the human eye than a pair of two.
I see. Okay.
Like on a shelf, you might want like two vases and a plant or something together in a grouping. It creates a little like mini vignette within that space.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I feel like picking classic things, doing it correctly, taking into consideration the principles and elements of the design process on the front end is going to make you love it that much longer and not maybe make you feel like you have to update it as often.
Mm, yes.
I
And now that
and
we
then
are
there's
saying
people that every 2 years they're like, nope, I want new.
exactly,
So
that's exactly what I was thinking. And yes, but there will be for others, there will be, the need of change, or
yeah,
maybe the circumstances in your life have changed as well. So you need to vitalize a space, or revamp it, or
people get
there's
married, they get divorced, they have
exactly.
kids, you know,
Yeah, 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 exactly. And what works in a certain moment in your life may not work anymore in another moment of your life. So
correct.
I'm thinking as well about that again, that need of flexibility and understanding that actually, yes, it's fantastic to transition through time, and that's very good, but also allow yourself to think, well, probably I do need to change, probably this
Yeah,
kind of arrangement of the furniture, even, no, just simply moving the furniture around. I wonder how much that makes a difference in
back
how
to
do
the
you feel the
anthropometrics
space.
of it, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
and so it's proximity to your space with the furniture, and you know, in certain areas, we might put a sofa with the back to the door to create like a foyer that isn't there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We can create those items with a different furniture arrangement. We can put in a different, I mean, you could change out your draperies, your artwork, your
Uh-huh,
area rug, your pillows, your accessories if you have a good classic piece. My kind of rule of thumb is
uh-huh.
if you stand on it or you sit on it, you spend on it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
so true.
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, unless you're truly one of these people that's like, Sherry, I don't care. I just
Mm-hmm,
want it to look good because I need to stage my home. I'm going to be
mm-hmm,
moving in 3 years. Okay. Well, then maybe we'll just do you know, something a lot less expensive and maybe it's gonna affect the comfort of it for now, but it can still look good for a while.
mm-hmm. But if
But
we are thinking about a sanctuary, what comes to mind is the need of comfort, right? The
yeah,
right
I have
chair that make you feel comfortable, or the right sofas
in
I'm
my
thinking
living
of.
room, I have what I call a coma sofa because you can't. I mean, it's so comfortable. It's got like down, it's huge and you can just completely lay out on it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Once you're in it, you're like, I don't want to leave. It's fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
It is. I can't lie.
And make me think about one of the sofas in my house as well, that every time that we get there is like a super restful moment. It's
Mm,
so relaxing, and because it's a big sofa as well, there are many people that can get on it. So that even is even better for
oh
movie
yeah,
nights and things like that. So
exactly.
so yeah, you make me think about my sofa as well. So we're getting towards the end of the episode of today. And I'm thinking, I mean, you have been giving us so many tips already. Is
Yeah.
there any kind of golden starting point to create that happy place? And also on a budget, I'm thinking.
I think even on a budget, invest in a designer. Invest. There's different ways that even on a budget, you can get a designer brain to help you out. There's all these different people online. We can do so much remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is gonna, yes, it's an upfront cost. You're gonna spend a bit more than you would. But think about like if you're if you've lived in your home for 10 years and all of a sudden you're selling it and you're going, oh my gosh, I don't know how to stage this. Get a designer or a stager to come in, and it's an unbiased opinion. But we are professionals, we're trained, we're going to consider your needs and save you money from making mistakes in the future. I've seen it so many times. And so I think that that's a good starting point.
It can be a collaborative sort of relationship where you can actually take into consideration, as you say, your own needs, and where people can start if they will not go through the process of inviting someone in their house to contract a designer, what they can start
What,
with.
well, I think that what you could start with, what I would personally do is just take off, declutter as much as possible.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm.
Declutter, take off your pillows, take off your accessories, off your tables, take down your draperies, take down your artwork, and then take a picture of your space
Uh-huh.
and take some measurements of your walls for size,
Uh-huh.
for scale. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you go shopping and you're
Mm-hmm.
getting new pillows, you're going to have that tool to
Uh-huh.
to go off of. And even if you don't start by taking everything out of your space to take that picture, take a picture of it anyways,
Mm-hmm.
because all of a sudden, looking at your house or your space on 2D versus what you see and live in every day,
Mm-hmm.
you will be amazed at how unbiased you're suddenly able to see it. And you're going, oh, oops, I didn't know I had that there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so you're suddenly going to get this unbiased opinion. And
Yeah.
also a tool to take shopping, get new pillows, get yourself some flowers. Um,
Yes.
I love live plants. They make me really happy personally. Some people are like, absolutely not.
Yes.
You know, and I love drapery in a room can really add a lot of character. Um, in your powder room, go for a bold wallpaper. Have some fun. You know, people a lot of times will dress up their little powder rooms because it's a small expense. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
get tired of a loud wallpaper there, it's not the end of the world,
You
you
can
know.
change it. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
easier thing to change. And then, like I said, if you sit on it or stand on it, you spend on it.
Yes. And as you say as well, what I'm getting from all what we are talking about today is that this is a something that can be changed, no, that it's something that can be where you take control of your space and you start little by little with different aspects of it, having
Yeah,
an idea of what the dimensions are and the things that are meaningful for you. So it's a very good way of connecting with yourself as well, with your own history, with things that are important to you, with the likes and dislikes, as you were saying. Do you like a plant? Do you don't like a plant?
right.
Those kind of things that are so simple, but also connect you with yourself. And one of the things that
Exactly.
we always talk about here as well is that when you are consistently paying attention to the needs of others, it's easy to lose sight of what do you want, what do you like, what do you need. And so in that terms, I think the exercise of looking at your space and making it a sanctuary for yourself brings a lot of harmony as well to the soul and the heart, your own soul and heart, more than anything else. We are not thinking others or how others
Yes.
will see our home. It's more like what works for me
I
in this
always
space.
say the interior of your home is the exterior of you.
There you go.
So,
So we will leave all our audience with that very thought, because we are getting to the end of the episode today, and we want to invite everybody who felt that this was inspiring and that you are now going into at least making that photo of your space and starting to look at it with different eyes to start to make little changes. Yeah, please share it with your colleagues, with your friends. And as always, these episodes are dedicated to frontline workers and community workers out there around the world. And I'm so excited as well to have been with you, Sherry, um, and to say that you are in the US, right?
I'm in Michigan.
You are
Yeah,
in Michigan. Yes.
I'm in Michigan.
So always the international flavor as well for this podcast, and inviting everybody to also let us know, what do you find particularly helpful from this episode. We would love to hear from you, and if you want to share photos of your new spaces, please do it. I'll be sharing them as well with Sherry to see what we have inspired from this episode. So thank you so very much for being there, everybody, and to you too, Sherry.
Thank you so much. This was fun.